decide not to release the study.
Not to publish that, right?
Which
shows you the corruption of science is that we're actually not publishing studies that suggest that gender transition craziness has reached the boiling point. I mean, you have kids. I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. Every single day, my 4-year-old or 2-year-old will come to me and say something that is batshit insane because they're 4 and 2.
Yeah.
Like my 4-year-old will come and say, "Daddy, I'm a dinosaur," right? I'm going to take them to like the dinosaur transition clinic and put scales on them. And
the other thing is, like, if you were encouraging them, and some parents, it's just I'm just going to say it, even though it sounds gross, they want their kid to be a part of the LGBTQ thing because it looks like a flag of virtue that they can post in their front lawn. Oh, look, we have a queer child. Like, oh, you're amazing. There's a weird thing about it with some of these nutty parents where you could imagine them. There has to be some reason why this enormous percentage of Hollywood kids are trans. Like, how many celebrities have trans kids? It's new. It's not a thing that was going on. It was rare in the past.
It becomes a social signifier for a lot of parents, and we have to be honest about that fact. And if you look at where the gender craziness is the most common, it's most common among upper middle class to lower middle class white progressives. 100%. Now, you could believe, that there's just like something genetic going on in the mind of a wealthy white progressive, or you could believe that this is a cultural trend that we should be questioning a lot more than we are right now. And unfortunately, I mean, here's one thing that I really worry about is, think about the incentives. People are very good at rationalizing things. If you are a, middle class or upper middle class white parent, and the only thing that you care about is whether your child goes into Harvard or Yale, like obviously that pathway has become a lot harder for a lot of upper middle class kids. But the one way that those people can participate in the DEI bureaucracy in this country is to be trans. And is there a dynamic that's going on where if you become trans, that is the way to reject your white privilege, right? That's the social signifier. Yeah. The only one that's available in the hyper woke mindset is if you become gender non-binary.
Non-binary is the best one because you don't even have to do anything. You just say I could say I'm non-binary, and like you don't have to do anything, but all of a sudden you're part of the group.
Yeah, well, that's right. And again, I think it's important to sort of, most people are not saying, "Oh, I'm white privileged. How do I become part of the privileged set?" But it's these weird ways in which these ideas creep into the to the mainstream, and people are very good at rationalizing these things. And so what I think 20, 30 years ago, even among very well-to-do white progressives, like an 11-year-old boy says, "I think that I'm a girl." Most of the time we would have said, "Oh, that's ridiculous and crazy," and ha ha ha, and come back to me in a couple of days. Now I think there's this massive incentive to try to say, "Oh my God, does that mean that my kid is trans?" And I also think it's, to your point, very warping on the minds of young kids because what they're now doing is taking normal adolescent curiosity and normal adolescent discomfort. Like, I don't know a single person who went from the ages of 10 to 15 who didn't say, "Oh, like, sometimes I had some, weird ideas or I dressed weird for a couple of years or something," right? It's a confusing phase for most Americans. We take that normal adolescent confusion and then we try to medicalize it. And nobody's saying, "Oh, when we do medicalize it, by the way, a lot of pharmaceutical companies get very rich off of it."
Not only